Welcome to another Anime Rambles. Today we are going to be comparing and contrasting both Black Clover and My Hero Academia against each other. They're both running shonens that have gotten a ton of good feedback, and we're going to be talking about both of them today. Uh, Warnings, there will be spoilers for both the manga for both of these. If you do not want spoilers, I suggest you click off now. But knowing how I typically get views, I only expect to get about 3 people watching this. So it is what it is. And most people won't even watch past first 2 seconds. Ay, ay, ay. But anyway, this is something I wanted to talk about, so I'm going to talk about it nonetheless. So, first, we're going to be talking about the two biggest differences in between these two shows. Actually, let's talk about the similarities first. So, they both take place in very different societies. One is modern, one is not. One is very fantasy esque and uses magic. But both these characters, in their respective worlds, have do not have what most people have. Asta doesn't have magic, therefore he's an outcast. Deku doesn't have a quirk, doesn't make him an outcast, but it makes him unable to do what he originally wanted. His dream has been crushed. Um, I definitely let's talk about the difference in between a likable character and a well-written character. Likable characters are someone you can look to like a beacon. They're just someone you like. A well-written character is someone you can like or dislike, but you can acknowledge that they've gone through growth and they've become a better person, a different person. The character has fundamentally changed at a different level, or they've become a beacon that changes the world. Good characters change with the world, or they change the world. There is no compromise in this. Deku and Asta are both good characters. I dislike Deku, but I like Asta. Why are they different even though they share similar storylines? Well, Deku originally, he said this in his fight with, what is his name? Gentle in the manga. He said he never even tried to become a hero. He gave up on himself, which is something I talk about in a previous video if you guys want to check that out, but not required. Anywho, Deku never wanted, well, he wanted to become a hero, and he was destroyed, and he was just going through this series of denial, just continuing to push forward because it felt like that's what he had to do, until he eventually met All Might, where All Might made the stupid decision of giving him All for One, which ended up being a pretty good decision. But in that moment, not the greatest decision. Giving someone without a quirk, especially in a world filled with amazing people, that amazing power. But Deku was able to bring out the fullest, so it ended up being a good decision. Deku has gone through many changes. He's grown physically as a character, and he's grown mentally. His idea of what a hero is has fundamentally shifted slightly throughout the series. Asta has always been Asta. He changes the world around him. He doesn't change to fit the world. He is a beacon, a character who stands out alone in a world filled with magical beings and great powers. He is a pillar in this world that rallies people around him. He and Yami Sukihiro in the show both share this same trait. They both are pillars in the world that drag other people together to make them better, to make them better people. Asta is an unshakable, unwavering, strong soul, and he makes other people rise to the challenge, rise to the occasion, and he pushes everything forward. That's what makes these two lead characters different from one another. One changes with the world, and the other, the world changes them. Both of these can make really interesting, well developed stories, but which one is better? Which one is superior to the other one? When it comes to plot, 100% Black Clover wins. Its first 130 episodes have been a roller coaster of building a foundation to build a castle, a beautiful castle with the elves going through their whole thing, being the antagonist but a tortured souls of the arc, a story that spanned 400 years in the past that all accumulates with this moment, with Asta's grimoire, with the devil that's been lurking in the Clover Kingdom. It all bubbles up and boils in this point in time. And all these pieces are working past each other, eventually coming together to make this explosive event that finally all the are together. And we finally get revealed everything that we've had questions about that we didn't question. Why is a bird following Asta? Huh, who cares? It's anime. No, there's a reason for it. Everything gets unraveled. It comes apart. It's a beautiful story that once it's all the pieces are together, it's great. My Hero Academia's plot is more like a bunch of smaller microcosms, one by one after each other. Um, we train, we get attacked by villains, we train some more. It's a school thing. We train some more. Attacked by villains, we go attack the villains, train some more. Get attacked by villains. The villains have an arc. The villains have another arc. We train. The villains have another arc. Big battle time. That's pretty much all the arcs in Black Clover, give or take. No, sorry, My Hero Academia, give or take. All the plots don't. It's similar in Black Clover, but all these smaller arcs have a larger meaning to them. In plot department, Black Clover by far takes the cake. My Hero Academia simply can't hold a match to what Black Clover offers in terms of plot. However, when it comes to character development of the main character and the side characters in the story, My Hero Academia blows Black Clover out of the water. Sure, there are plenty of interesting characters in Black Clover. You have, oh god, I can't even think their names. You have most of the Black Bulls go through expansive developments, such as Gauche, Gray, not really Charmy, but Vanessa, Luck, Magna. These are all characters that get built upon, but they get built upon so much slower than they do in My Hero Academia, where My Hero Academia subtly builds up their characters on the sidelines. They still have moments that shine, but they don't. They sometimes even outshine Deku, the main character, and but they don't. They don't have the same depth as the characters in My Hero Academia. A great example is Bakugo. First time watching the series, watching the first two seasons, Bakugo hated him. He was terrible. I couldn't stand him. He was a hero that told Deku to kill himself. It was a whole mess. But now opening up in the manga, very similar to the way Black Clover's plot starts to unravel and everything starts to make sense to you. Similarly, with the characters in My Hero Academia, they start to unravel as well, and you start to see their souls laid bare, but not immediately. Slowly, over time, you learn that Bakugo was always intimidated by Midoriya because he had nothing, but he still wanted to push. So Bakugo felt like he had to push higher. He had to put My Hero oh my god, he had to put Deku down to make himself feel better, to raise himself a little bit higher than this nobody who he felt was at his same level. He viewed Midoriya as an equal, and that's what enraged him so much more. And now in the story, they have a healthy rivalry of always trying to one up each other, push past their own limits. Very similar to All Might and Endeavor, how the number two hero always tried to push, but that horizon was just out of his reach. They always depict Endeavor and All Might as a huge chasm separating them, and how Endeavor just always wanted to try, even if it's just a one plank in a rock. He was always trying to crawl a little bit closer, and he never thought he'd get that close. The other characters in My Hero Academia don't get as much development, but they feel so much more alive with their own personalities. And sure, there's some main members in Class 1A that really do get that push forward to show what kind of people that they are and how they change and develop as they go. But they always do this alongside the main character. A great example is right at the USJ arc, where the villains attack for the first time. Deku is with Froppy and Mineta, Suyu Asui, and they're on that boat. And you could tell immediately Suyu is calm. She's composed. She always is thinking about the situation. And she's already thinking about what kind of hero she wants to be. And then she gets an arc later during their training, during their internships, where she helps take down a group of pirates. And you learn that she's a cool headed person who's always thinking about her friends. And it's so hard to describe it. You learn that Mineta is scared, but even he, being a shit-card, ugly-ass, great boy, gets his own character development in his fight with Midnight, where he goes from a scared coward to someone who can actually push forward and pull his team to victory in the final exam, I believe, or was it midterms? I don't know, something. And it showed that even him, he can push past him. He can be a hero. And I feel like this is due to like all the training arcs in My Hero Academia. Training arcs aren't exactly a bad thing. Like training is an important part of a story, and you can grow not just physically but mentally through a story, through a training arc. Black Clover's training arcs are typically time skipped or done in the background where we don't really see it. But we know Asta is always pushing forward because he's the pillar of his own story. Um, Midoriya isn't really a pillar. He feels more like another student in Class 1A. He's definitely one of the stronger ones that the others rally behind, but he doesn't feel like a pillar of the class who everyone relies on. He's not the big brother of the group. He's not someone everyone strives to be. Maybe Ochako is the only one who, and Kachan are the only one who strives to be more like Midoriya. But that's mainly because Ochako has a thing for Midoriya, and Bakugo is his childhood friend. It's less about him being a center of the class, and a lot more about him being a good person to them specifically. I like the individual smaller relationships that grow in between some of the characters. It's subtle, but it's there. You have pairs such as Ochako and Midoriya. You have pairs such as um, Hiroshima and Mina. Yes. Uh, Todoroki and, oh god, Yaoyorozu. Subtle pairs that creep up, not something that the mangaka shines a spotlight on, but something he lets you see. Um, Black Clover doesn't really do this. They're very hand-fisted with who likes who, and they dramatize it to a huge extent, which is not a really big fan of that. Um, as individual villains go, My Hero Academia also surpasses Black Clover. I don't really count the elves as villains. They're more as tragic heroes, or tragic villains, I suppose, or anti-heroes. I guess anti-heroes would be the fitting description for them. But the villains in Black Clover are the devil, the night, what's it called, the Dark Triad of the Spade Kingdom, and they're more like just really evil. Like they just want to kill everything, and that's their motivation. They have malice, and they kill, murder devils. It's very it's very flat, very two dimensional. However, villains in My Hero Academia have history throughout the world. Well, not throughout the world. They have history in Deku's predecessors. Shigaraki is the grandson of Tomura, who is All Might's predecessor. Um, yeah, Shigaraki is still developing the manga. I really want to see how his story arc ends. If I feel like he's going to have a change of heart as it continues. But My Hero Academia is definitely a big commentary on society as well as the villains. Like Stain is a great villain, commentating on the entire ideology of the heroes. There's so many different groups that spring up. Well, I guess just a couple that commentate on what it means to live in a society with quirks, what it means to be weaker or stronger. Should you suppress who you really are? And there's so many different characters that make you think about this, make you question it, make you look at the world differently. Look at My Hero Aka's world differently as a whole because of how their individual experiences have left a mark on it. So many microcosms, like Gentle, and how he struggled to become a hero, but it wasn't happening. Like Stain, who wanted to fight against all these patriarchal heroes who only were in it for fame or money or glory. Or perhaps even Hawks, whose father was a criminal and he was taken in by the Hero Association and raised to be a hero. There's so many small micro bits of this world that come together and create this interesting dichotomy of characters that are clashing against each other with their own ideologies. My biggest problem with My Hero Academia right now is the fact that none of the reveals in the story are ever a surprise. For example, let's take Dobby from the League of Villains. From the moment he appeared in the manga, people were saying, "Oh, he uses fire. He's gonna be related to Todoroki," and lo and behold, he was. People were like, "Oh, one for all is a quirk that people get, and it gathers power and it gets passed down." It's like, yeah, Deku's totally gonna get multiple quirks. Like either like the manga isn't doing a great job at holding those secrets or they simply don't care, which like a good reveal is always like, whoa. Like that's what makes JoJo's so good. JoJo's is very like one dimensional in a lot of its aspects, but its weirdness and its fights carry it. And that wow moment when the protagonist finally realizes how to defeat the enemy stand user is what everyone's there for. And that is simply absent from My Hero Academia. I would say My Hero Academia, one of my biggest problems with it is the fact that we don't see enough of the other hero courses that are in the years above them. Like we get the big three in the third years with Lemillion, Nedry, and God Eater, but we don't see anyone from the second year or anyone else from the third year. In the arcs where you have class 1A on internships, why don't we ever see anyone from the years above them? Are they there in the background? Because it doesn't really seem like it even a little bit. Like, for God's sakes, they put Chainsaw Man as a background character. Why not throw in some reoccurring background characters from the hero courses above Class 1A and 1B? No, that's just my thoughts on it anyway. Uh, Black Clover does a great job at showing the knights and the captains of the other squads and exactly how much power they hold and how much power they throw around in their own weight. It's very hard to compare these two shows because they're written from a similar base, but they veer off in two very different directions. One being a very character. I should use this hand because this hand's closer to My Hero Academia. On this hand, they're going very close to a story built off characters growing and becoming their own and becoming different people who can be beneficial to society and what it means to be a hero, what it means to have quirks in a society. And then on the other end, it's I'm going to prove that I can become the Wizard King. I can do what it takes. It's not about growing, it's about sprouting and getting to that final destination and having all these twisted vines of a plot coming in. One is a lot more like a bush bearing early fruit that's softly ripening, and the other one is like a large beanstalk, very skinny, but all wound together and grabbing onto different parts of the story and growing very tall very quickly. The difference in between a character driven story and a plot driven story are very different and hard to compare. Character driven stories typically mm, typically go slower and they hold on to these different characters and they all reoccur and they all show up later. You're not watching to see what happens to a world or what happens next. You're seeing because you love these characters. Black Clover, you're seeing a lot more on how the author's writing style, what story the world has to tell, what the main character role in this story is going to be, rather than how's the main character going to interact with this new threat, with this new situation. And those are the biggest differences in between My Hero Academia and Black Clover. Which one's better? My Hero? Black Clover? Well, I'm not going to say. It's for you to decide. Right now, I'm still kind of in the middle. I really want to see how this arc ends in the Spade Kingdom, where we are now. Um, I'm currently only watching the anime for Black Clover. I've been watching it seasonally, yeah, episode by episode. When it ends, I'll probably read the manga. But right now, I'm pretty torn in the middle. Both of them have pretty equal power systems, which is why I didn't really want to bring that up, with everyone having their own unique thing that can grow and become their own. But I feel like that's everything I want to say. If you like this, leave a like. If you have something to add to this conversation, leave that down in the description. I've been Bottle Cap. Peace, love, and bottle caps. We'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.